Hello and welcome to this week's Maker Meeting from Workshop 88. Each week we explore projects that our members are working on. We are members of a community makerspace primarily serving the western Chicago suburbs. We're always striving to build and grow our community of makers. We believe that we become better makers by learning with and sharing with others. We hope you enjoy watching our meeting and we invite you to become involved with us no matter where you live. And to get involved with us, we invite you to check out our Patreon. Support us on Patreon if you're not in the Chicago suburbs, in the western Chicago suburbs. If you are in the western Chicago suburbs, we want you to be aware that until the end of this month, we have our special going on, 4 months of membership for the price of 3. We'd love to have you as a member of our community. We are getting new members this time of year, and if you're one of those looking for a place to explore different types of making things, then definitely check us out. So workshop88.com, and you can find all the information there. So tonight we got a few updates on different projects that are going on, and I discovered something that I want to show off, or at least try to. This is the thing I'm going to show is it's new to me. And it kind of ties into the discussion we had a couple of weeks ago about organization of things. And it's a new to me trick that I found in Excel. And I downloaded a, well, I'll show you. I downloaded this collection of, it's a bibliographic reference list of a whole bunch of papers that I just happen to have linked to. All right, so let's see if this works. All right, so here's my Excel file, and it says that there's I saved this as a CSV, so I'm going to do a save as Excel file format, just to make it stop complaining, and hopefully that'll work, and hopefully that I can get this. Hopefully I can make this work. Now, I'm a little worried that what I'm going to try to do is going to take a lot of time to process, because I have like 250 lines. I don't know if it's going to take a long time or not, but we're going to try it. So these are references of papers and books and magazines and journal articles and all sorts of things that I use for writing other papers and referring back to them. And I don't usually store them in Excel format because I have other things that I organize them for. But this is the thing I want to show is a way to filter through Excel files that could be used for a whole bunch of other different things that maybe would make a little bit more sense to store in Excel. All right, so what I'm going to do is actually the first thing that you have to do is you have to convert this all to a table. So I'm not sure if this is the easiest or best way to do it, but I'm going to select all the stuff here. Hopefully I got it all. Most of these columns at the end I don't actually really care about. Yeah, custom things. Oh yeah. I don't know. Maybe I should grab all that stuff. It doesn't matter. We'll come back to that. If I have to redo it, so be it. All right. So what I want to do is I want to I think it's insert table, and my table has headers, which is true. Okay. So that's going to convert that all to a table. And I actually, here's my confession time. I don't actually completely understand the difference between a table and just an Excel file. So somebody that's more clever than I am should probably enlighten me on that.
I've got a video for you.
You do? Okay, that's cool. I will watch it. The other thing, I probably should have done this ahead of time. I actually probably want want a row at the top, so I'm going to insert a row. Okay, cool. All right, and I'm going to take this row and I'm going to make this bigger. There we go. Give me some room. Okay. So now if I click in here and then I'm on the table, there's this option here that I'd never seen before in my life ever called slicer. All right. So now what this the information that's in here has, you know, the title of whatever the thing is, and it has the author, and it has this like identifier key, and it's got the name of the journal if it's a journal, and a whole bunch of other information, the year and stuff like that. And then there's just a whole bunch of other information that I actually care about. What I didn't have initially, and what I, you know, if I really wanted to do this is I didn't have like topics. All right. So in my line of work, I broadly am interested in a few things. They're all more or less related to physics. A lot of things are related to acoustics, and you know, a lot of things are related to education and teaching physics and stuff like that. But you know, sometimes I branch off into different things, and I started to categorize these papers or books or whatever into broad categories that I just kind of want to keep separate. So the first 5 or 6 of these were all related to the acoustics of steel pan. So I just put steel pan. That's a long running project of mine. This happens to be just related to, this is actually a, this is a education. So this should just say education as the main topic. This is a general paper on holography. And this was quantum mechanics, and I don't know why it's in here, but whatever. I apparently at some time I really wanted to know something about quantum mechanics, so that's fine. And then this is actually related to education research. So I will do this as education, and I have a subtopic of research. So I'm going to put, or I have 2 topics basically. So there's topic 1 and topic 2, which is, I'm kind of thinking it in my mind as like topic and subtopic. And so this is,
Andrew,
yeah.
So I do, what would be good, this would be good for, I mean, without even seeing what you're going to do, topic 1 and topic 2, for expense, like budget categories, you know, like I have a home maintenance category, but it doesn't really say what home maintenance includes. So I'm already seeing a way it could be used with your topic 1 and topic 2 in real world.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, that's
just relating it.
No, that's great. That's like, in my mind, I was trying to figure out like, could I use this for like cataloging my book collection, or like, you know, I have all the gear for like, or tools related to 3D printing and, you know, Arduinos and stuff like that. But like, I couldn't quickly wrap my mind around how to demo a spreadsheet with that sort of stuff. But like a home budget, I think is perfect for this sort of thing. And I'm not going to go through this whole list, but this is another one that's like, I don't know, education or whatever. So I'm just going to put education. Okay, cool. All right. So whatever. I don't know what even some of these are. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to insert a slicer. And I'm going to, I want to pick out the things that I want to filter on, basically. So I definitely want to filter on topic 1 and topic 2. And there's part of me that says, oh, maybe I should filter on the journal, because sometimes that's a way that I will sort things. So I think I'm going to do just those, or no, actually, what I actually really want is the type of thing that it is, whether it's a book or, okay, so that's like some sort of code. I'll do well, we can try that, and then we'll come back to it and see if it's not what I want. So we'll see how that works. Okay. All right. So I picked these 3 slicers. All right, and hopefully, yeah, these windows pop up. Okay. And so here's bibliographic type. Here's topic 2. Here's topic 1. Now, one thing that I will share a link to the video that showed me how to do this, because you can play around with like color coding, these sorts of things, right? I didn't change the design of the table, and I'm not. I mean, I think that there's a way in here to change the color. I don't usually play around with color too much or whatever. But so I just happen to know, just from looking at this, that bibliographic type 7 is an article, and I'm not sure what 9 is. Anyway, but if I click on this, if I click on 7, all right, then it immediately filters out everything that's not 7, right? And I'm left with that list. But maybe I only care about the ones that are related to steel pan, and so those are going to show me that, right? And there is no like steel pan and topic 2, so I can't undo that, right? Or I can't filter that anymore. All right. If I wanted all the education ones, there's all the education ones. There are some education ones that are different bibliographic types, so I have all those. And if I wanted to narrow it down even more, I could do that, right? So like, and then this is topic 2, research, and I was just like blown away when I saw this, because it was like, oh my gosh, this is like my own personal little private dashboard or whatever of these buttons that I had to do no Excel equations or fancy coding or anything to get these, and yet there they are. And so that I thought was just amazing. The other little trick that I do remember from the thing that is that you can, in this slicer over here, it shows the number of columns. So maybe I want this to be 2 columns wide or whatever, or I could get kind of a little fancy with this, and I could say, well, there's 7 of these here, so I'm actually just going to make it 7 columns wide. I'll make this wider and smaller, right? So now I have the bibliographic type running that way, and I could turn this into whatever, that sort of thing. So anyway, I just thought, wow, that's like really powerful. And for the spreadsheet that I was working on, like it really helped to filter things out, because the one that I was working on had 1,000 entries in it, and there were probably 6 different columns. Well, there's probably about 20 columns, but 6 of them that I wanted to filter on, and so I could set those up really quickly, and then just start going through and like just really super quick find the things that I actually wanted. So anyway, I just really like this as a trick. So
can I share another way to do the same thing?
Yes,
this is
please.
super powerful.
Yes,
I'm
please.
on my work computer, so I can't demo, but if
Okay.
you undo everything and go all the way back to the initial state of the spreadsheet.
Okay. Should have just
even before the table.
Yeah.
Or reopen it again. But
I should just reopen it. Okay.
Right here. So on the right, you'll see sort and filter. You can click on sort and filter. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see your drop down if you've clicked on it.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
Let me. Just click filter.
Filter. Okay.
Now, if
Interesting.
you,
I don't see the drop down either.
yeah,
Oh,
that's
all
not that's fine. But if you go to bibliography, the column, and you click that little arrow,
Uh-huh.
now you can filter on any of the categories that are in it.
Oh.
And you could do that for any of these columns.
You can do multiple ones too, I bet.
Yeah, and you'll notice that the line numbers are they're not continuous now, and they show you where the gaps are. So it's just hiding lines. So we deal with, thousands of rows of, tens and tens of columns. So to try and winnow down these sub lists, this is kind of a crucial thing. But I mean, they're both really. I didn't know about that slicer thing, so it looks like another really powerful way. And especially it looks like if you wanted to hand someone a spreadsheet with an interface you made for them, that's a new little tool to put in my toolbox. So
yeah. The thing I'm planning to take the original spreadsheet that I was working with and share it back to the originator of it and say, hey, put this out into the world with all the people you've already shared it to, and maybe this helps them even more. So
the other nice thing about this interface is that if you sort with this interface, it sorts rows, not just that column, so you don't screw up the rows. And if you sort by one column and then another, it'll be sorted into subcategories. It's hard to describe it.
If I close this, does the filter remain?
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Oh man. So then I can come here and say, oh wait. Oh, but okay, because the thing I picked didn't have any of those.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay, cool. So then we'll put that back in. And then I'll come over here and say, yeah. I just want steel paint. Nice. Very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to stop my share.
So that makes me think of another way to do it. I don't know if we have any people here who are database users like SQL users or people who are into that sort of thing. But in connection with my class, I happened to stumble across something it's a plugin for Excel called the MySQL connector for Excel. And it basically lets you take an SQL database and suck it into a spreadsheet or vice versa. So sometimes it's convenient to look at things in terms of a spreadsheet. Sometimes it's convenient to have things in terms of a database where you can give complicated SQL commands with joins and orders and filters and subqueries and so on. And you can, once you have it in a database format, you can do any kind of query that you can possibly think of. So that might be overkill for some applications, but for certain kinds of problems, it can be pretty useful.
Cool. I also want to put out a plug for that video that I was mentioning earlier. There's a hilarious and very dense, useful video called "You Suck at Excel" with Joel Spolsky. I'll post the link. We'll share it. It's very fun, and if you don't learn something from that video, you're an expert at Excel. So it's pretty cool.
That reminds me of another topic. I know I've heard some statistics on, every time Microsoft comes out with these new releases, they put in more features and add to complexity. And I've seen statistics on like what fraction of features in Excel never get used or are used by only a tiny percentage of the people, and only a tiny percentage of the features are used by most people. So there's all kinds of things buried in there that nobody knows about and nobody ever uses, but it's interesting to see some of those useful tidbits.
We had that conversation. I had that conversation with my husband this week. His class he's taking now is healthcare data, and they're using Tableau. And he's connecting to, and I used Tableau in a job before, and he's connecting to Excel and SQL, and we talk about Excel. How we barely, like, do you know how to do a pivot table in SQL or in Excel? Yeah.
Didn't it feel like from like the mid 2000s on, like they just, with the advent of the ribbon and the changes to the user interface, that the things you needed just seemed to get buried deeper and deeper
until you use them every day, and then right.
'cause they have to fit more and more things in there somehow. So
Yeah. But I love it, man. Excel generates barcodes, or was it Word? Word, I think, does. Like you could just create sheets of stickers of barcodes, QR codes, whatever. It's all built in, and I'm ashamed to say I'm still using 2007 Office Suite. So
Yeah, I discovered in the last, I think, 2 years, the sort of the freeze top row and first column or whatever, like
Oh.
that behavior totally changed from what I was used to.
that's a useful one. Yeah.
Yeah, it is useful, and it's I feel like it used to be more useful the way it used to be, but maybe that's just because I'm an old man.
yeah, I felt that way about Lotus.
Oh. The first time somebody showed me transpose, I was amazed.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I used to have a coding editor on the Amiga that would take a table of data, just data lines, and it would search for the commas and then transpose a source code. So that was actually useful on occasion.
Very cool.
Anyway.
Well, I'm sure we could talk about Excel tricks and hacks for the next 3 hours or whatever. But I didn't know we had some minor updates, I think, for some things, and I'm not sure who is wanting and itching to go next in terms of those minor updates. I know Scott had something. Mace, did you want to have any updates on your? Nope. Okay, so Scott had something, and I'm not sure if anyone else is. Scott, you want to talk briefly about your anemometer?
I will speak briefly about my anemometer. Let me share my
I just
screen.
want to say that I want to pat myself on the back for saying anemometer so flawlessly. Like
It was
Without
fun.
even
It's
thinking
a fun
about it.
word to say. It seems like.
it is a fun word to say. When you
Anemometer.
say it right.
All right. So I hope you can see the screen with the battery on it.
Yes.
So I searched Thingiverse and have a few of the other model things, and I posted this to our Slack, and I'll probably put this model on Thingiverse. But no one had a AA battery. There were all kinds of AA battery holders and adapters, so you can put a AAA battery in this plastic thing you 3D print and use it where there's a AA for like 5 minutes, I think. I mean, it's just a few cylinders. I went online and found the industry standard dimensions for a AA battery, and so I have a usable scale model. The other thing I'll share here, and I mean, I don't expect anyone to be terribly impressed with this, but it was necessary for me to do some of the design for the anemometer 3D printed case parts. So now I'm out of software, I'm out of electrical mostly, and now I'm into like sort of manufacturing design process. And I use OpenSCAD. I'm a software developer by trade, years ago, and so it comes very natural to me. And this is what I'm using for my CAD. It's not for everybody, but if you're into it, I'm happy to talk about it. So I needed the batteries so that I could model the electrical components of the anemometer and sort of move them around and see how they could fit together in a device. And this is where I started with the batteries stacked behind the buttons and the display and the ESP01. The fan, I'm hoping to make a detachable. I'm hoping to make the fan detachable so that you could, mount it a little further from the handset, so you could look at it and hold it in various places, and it'll also clip in. But I'll show you that some other day because I haven't designed that yet. But in looking at this with button placement, I realized that it'd be very difficult to use. I walked around the house and I picked up everything and I was like holding it in my hand, like this is too thin, this is too thick, this is too short, this is too long. And putting buttons at the bottom of it is like the absolute worst possible position. So I iterated, and I'll just enable the other iteration, and it looks more like this. And let me change this color to 4.29. So now you can see through the case that I'm making, and it's longer. The batteries have been moved to be below the rest of the electronics. In the back, I'm hoping to put a little port where there's a cover, but there's a programming header for the ESP, so I could still get at that. A couple of features in the exterior of the case, other than it being form-fitting. And anytime I do industrial design, I have these great ideas for how to make rounded corners and stuff, but it always ends up looking like really cheap medical equipment. Like this should be vacuum formed from tan or beige plastic, but let me make this opaque again. I did put, I do have a bezel that's exactly aligned with the display that's below. I did, because the Jim is actually the one who told me that these OLED displays are very delicate. I did build in a little 1/8 inch, what's that, 3 millimeter acrylic, room for acrylics, so that you won't directly be able to touch the display. And I did do these little detents for the buttons. I have to put labels on them and stuff. So there's still a lot of work to do. I'm planning for this to be this handheld part to be 2-part, a top and bottom, that's 3D printed, that mates. There's going to be more parts in the battery compartment and with the wiring for the fan. But this is basically how it's going. Oh, I could show one more thing, and that the actual shape for the object. I hope this shows up. Yeah. So the shape for the object here, I'll just comment out the hull. It's actually, I've located these spheres and I've used for loops to these are just OpenSCAD tips if anyone's interested. I've used for loops to iterate over positive and negative positions in X, Y, and Z, and I translate, and then I just put spheres in the corners. And then when I've got a collection of spheres, this hull operator will generate a convex hull around whatever shapes I've arranged, which gives me a rounded case. And then I've subtracted this is the shape of the bezel, and there's some spheres I've subtracted here. So it's work in progress. It's kind of a tedious process, but this is the industrial design part of the project. So if does anyone have any questions? If not, I can.
That's really cool.
Looks nice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Actually, this is an amazing example of sort of what I wanted to kind of touch on, which was basically, I mean, to me, I mean, this is, you're talking about how it's industrial design or whatever, but it's really finishing the project and making the enclosure and that sort of thing. And to me, that's one of the hardest things to do, I think, right? Like, I think it's pretty easy to build things on a breadboard, right? A proto board. And then it's another thing to get it on maybe a printed circuit board or something like that. But then to go into that final step is exactly what I think is sorely actually lacking in terms of resources for how people do that. And I love, I mean, I think that I've never seen OpenSCAD used in this way. So I'm really impressed by that sort of thing. And I guess my question to you is, this is a long-winded way for me to get to an actual question, but I have one. The question is, how do you get to the point where you did all that iterating for the layout, okay, and you used OpenSCAD for that visualization part and iterating and figuring that out, but how do you go from that final sort of layout, design, whatever, to actually exporting that to something that you would want to 3D print possibly? I mean, do you think that you're in the place where you can just export the case as an STL and try printing it, or is there another step in between?
Well, what I'll do is I'll design the case as 3D models that are exportable to STL. What I did, so in OpenSCAD, if you want to highlight something, you could put a pound sign, a octothorpe or a hash in front of it, and it'll highlight transparent red. And if you just want to render one thing out of your whole scene, your whole project, you can put an exclamation point in front of it. And I just did that with one of the batteries, and this one's flipped upside down, so it looks a little weird. But once I've rendered this, what we were looking at before is previews. This is now directly exportable as an STL. So, and it's not uncommon for me to have a bunch of parts in an assembly and then go through and export each part on its own as an STL for 3D printing. And when I design these parts, I'm going to keep 3D printing in mind. And I don't have a lot of experience making two parts that fit together. So there's a shoulder and there's some trickery at the edge that I think I'm going to use the sloped surfaces instead of a step that you often seen with injection molding. But I always have to consider overhang and support material. And I think I'm going to I try and avoid overhangs all the time, but I want the nice part of these parts to be the exterior. So I will print them open, interior towards the print bed with support material, and just, as long as the inside is empty. And all of the, there's all these different elevations that need to be exactly right. Oh, I have something else to show you. All of these different elevations that need to be exactly right, that in order for the parts to fit together, for them to screw together and be fastened. But I have had quite a bit of experience in projects with assemblies and getting parts to fit together. One of the cool things I did, everything in here, I'm trying to figure out how to hide. Oh, here, I can. So we're back to the assembly. I'm sorry, we're back to the parts. I've commented out the body, the exterior that I started to work on, and this will eventually become its own module that I'll divide up into 3D printable parts. But down here, everything is in millimeters, but the pin spacing on electronics for through-hole components is 0.1 inches. So, or what is that? The conversion rate is 25. So like 2.54 millimeters. There's this 2.54 millimeter grid, and it's very fiddly. Oops. So let me just recenter this. But I did get it to line up so that all of the pins pass through these virtual holes, which means I have these components. I can solder them to a circuit board, and I know that they'll line up just as I've designed here, and they'll fit my 3D printed parts in the end. So that was kind of a key step to get things registered to a real world constraint. And again, this little module called PCB holes just does a loop over X and a loop over Y, and it just generates a bunch of little cubes. And that's what I used I did it at this 0.1 times inches to millimeters, which is 25.4 spacing. Anyway, these little tips help you quickly get the design right and validated.
Oh,
all right.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Cool.
I'll have more updates.
Cool.
Thanks.
So I'll show you the project that I want to take on, which everything that you just showed just makes me want to dive back into this project. This appeared on the Arduino blog earlier this week, right? I think it was on Sunday. And it's this. I'm gonna accept all the cookies. It's a signal generator, right? The story here is that some person, I don't know where they live exactly, but they said, well, I got a new oscilloscope, so of course I need a signal generator. And I thought it was funny because it looks like a really, really nice oscilloscope, and well, you'll see the signal generator he put together is so an Arduino, and then a OLED display, which is really nice. And then this is the key here, this module. And this is literally just a sine wave and square wave module. Like it's a $8 board that you can buy that you can control via Arduino, which will output sine waves or square waves. And the rest is all just, there's a relay to be able to plug it into the to the wall, and capacitors and power supply, and that's about it. And so I thought, oh man, that's really, really cool. And if you scroll down, there's like the code is included. Here's the code, the Arduino code. That was really cool. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. And I mean, the parts there are like, it's like $20 of parts basically, or maybe 30. I don't know. It's very inexpensive. But then I got to look in at how you put it together, and I mean, this is kind of overkill Eagle schematic for, assembling these or whatever. But he shows how all these things are connected together. And I got to thinking, well, okay, he's got this photo of what he calls his prototype. And, but he just sort of like built it into, it must be an existing case that he already had. And I was like, well, if you don't have that case and you wanted to kind of like design your own case, that seems like more than just a couple hours of assembling all the parts once they arrive from wherever you order them from. So seeing, Scott, your process of taking those components and modeling them in OpenSCAD, and then building the case kind of around it, that's what I want to be able to do, basically.
Well, be impressed when I'm done. Yeah, I was actually, when you first showed that, I was gonna compliment that person on the design of the case. I thought it was 3D printed because the case has a faceplate or a panel that slides in that with the holes, and that's the right way to do that, but it's not 3D printed. Oh.
Yeah, I think that was just something that they happen to, and there's no description on the page of the case, and that's another thing that like really like, I mean, whatever, like people have stuff that they happen to have and they're making use of, and I think that's valid or whatever, but there's something a little like lacking, I think, in taking it to the final stage or whatever. So
quite yeah, cool, thank you.
Andrew, I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't know anything about electronics and circuits and Arduinos and Raspberry Pis when I started this whole Track the Sun thing. And now that I've got a working satellite dish, it's still all spaghetti code. I did throw on the LCD, and I've got a nice little stand that I found on Thingiverse. But I want to put it in a nice little box that I can pick up and carry it outside when I want to do some spotting. And designing a case to do that, and the hole in the bezel for the LCD screen, and whatever buttons I need to turn on the power and stuff, that still all escapes me. And just watching you guys do stuff and seeing the stuff on Thingiverse, it's a big help. It's progressing me slowly along those lines.
yeah, I feel like that's super common, but people don't really talk about it or whatever. And you end up coming up with your own ways of figuring it out and just whatever works for you, which is valid, but that doesn't necessarily help the next person or whatever. So anyway, yeah.
My resolution is just, there's a whole bunch of perf board and prototypes and just stuff that doesn't have cases. It's much easier.
If you're gentle enough with the shoebox, you can just carry anything anywhere, right?
It does lead to a characterization of everything that I've ever made by my wife as having a lot of wires coming out of it.
I just stick all my stuff to a piece of, can you see? I don't know if you're going to see that. Nope. No, the screen's not.
Virtual background won't show us anything unless it's in front of your body.
Yeah. I'll show it some other time, or I'll post it on Slack. I taped everything to a piece of ceramic tile. It's rigid. It doesn't tip or whatever. Nice and heavy, but it looks like the dog's breakfast.
My signature materials are all manner of drywall screws and scrap lumber. So
Nice. Very cool. Okay. So I guess I mean, I don't know if we had any other topics for open discussion, or anybody had anything else they wanted to show.
I'll try something. I don't know if I can share this or not with my Google Earth stuff. Let me see if this is going to work. Let's see.
Just thinking of that day when we all do get together, especially like with Peter and Mace in person, we have got to make it a party.
There you go.
I mean, I don't know, just such a celebration. But
Yeah, that'll be a party.
Yeah, it won't be the one day with everybody there, I don't think, because it's just not going to happen that way. But
Y'all seeing that?
yes.
Yes.
All right, so I was doing the RDP, data reduction algorithm, and Jim, I think, said, can't you just take every fifth point? Wouldn't that be a good thing? Well, that would be actually a nice data reduction, simple, fast. But I was wondering what that would look like. What data would be I'd be throwing away that I should have kept, and what stuff is being kept that I didn't. So the algorithm that I had to do all that calculation was written on an iPhone, and it was just a little toy application. And now that I've got Google Earth, I don't want to do it in the iPhone anymore. So I got to rewrite everything. It was in Swift. Now it's going to be in Python. But I'm playing now in Google Earth. So I took the entire loop, which looks like this. Let's drag this over. And I was looking at one section here where he went to Skyland Lodge in Tennessee, I think it was. He started here at, I don't know, Pine Gap, and it looks like he just did an absolutely huge straight line run from this day to that day. And he didn't. He's zigzagging back and forth through all the mountains. So I wanted to get the full data set for that one little segment. So I did that. I loaded it up. And this is all the data for that one little segment. And it looks black, and that's because if I zoom in, you can actually see every single data point and how close it was to the previous one. I think it was every 2 seconds he collected the data point. And I just happened to notice, oh, he took a wrong turn. And then when he goes back, he's worse off than he started, and he ended up getting back on track. So I wouldn't really want any of this, I don't think, in the final one. I don't know. Anyway, so this is the full data. And I was wanting to experiment with what produces the best looking chart the fastest. What happens if I did just pick every fifth one? So I did that, and I end up with this chart. And now you can clearly see a lot of zigzagging back and forth. I exaggerated the altitude, but comparing that to my original, yeah, that original was just one segment, but he zipped out this way and back around the other side and in and out and up and down and all these, sorry if anybody's getting motion sickness from my zooming around here, but you can clearly see that at this one segment, there's things going on all over the place. So then I said to myself, well, what would that look like if it was every 100th? Because throwing out or taking only every fifth still is 39,000 data points or what it is just from this one segment, let alone the whole trip. So I did every 100th element and colored it a different color and did a different height. And now you can see how every 100th element, which is the yellow extrusion, which is greatly exaggerated, and then every fifth one, which is not quite so exaggerated in here. And there seems to be quite a few spots that you miss that you might want included. I wish I was more adept at moving this thing around, but you can see like right here, this would have been missed and this would have been missed. Do I need it in there? I don't know, but I'm now starting to play around with how can I reduce this data the best way. The next thing is to actually run this data through the RDP algorithm and pick an error band that's reasonable. I don't know what that is. Or maybe my goal should be no more than 1,000 points per segment, or maybe the goal is only 10% of the original points. I still have to decide that. So I'm progressing through that.
That's great. The thing you showed when you were showing the wrong turn and deciding whether or not to include that or not, it makes me wonder, like, how good of a friend, he really is. Like, I mean, because maybe, like, if it's a good friend, you don't want to show the wrong turn, but if it's a good enough friend, maybe you want to say, oh, hey, you did a wrong turn here, and I'm not going to let you forget it.
Maybe it wasn't a wrong turn.
Well,
maybe he was trying to find a place to pee in private.
Yeah, he met up with a farmer's daughter at that farmhouse there for all I know. I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
All who wander are not lost.
True.
I think RDP is the way you want to go, but there's another data structure that could be fun, and that is, instead of taking all the points and placing them in order, you take all the points and you have the first point and the last point. And then at the next level, you've got the midpoint for each segment. So it's a tree structure where all the points are represented, except they're organized such that every point is the midpoint of two parents. And it's like fractals, but it's like MIP levels of graphics. And if you're ever doing visualization, it's not uncommon to just use a data structure like that to load. You know how many points you could plot on the screen, and you would just go that deep into the structure to find the points that are in scope for drawing your path.
Yeah, or zoom in and zoom out.
It doesn't sound like you're doing it quite. You're not quite that dynamic, and I really think that's just another flavor of the subsampling that you were just doing. I think your Douglas Poiker is going to give you. It's going to capture those details that you want. So this is a really fascinating project.
Yeah, but what you're I'm sorry. Go ahead, May.
Go ahead, Jim. No, ask your question. Go ahead, Jim.
It sounds like what you were suggesting, Scott, would give a uniform density of data, and depending on how varied a path was, you might want more stuff here and less stuff there, sort of like a variable bit rate encoding for
exactly stuff. Exactly, except what I think he will be more valuable is he wants to capture the points that are important to him are the points that deviate from points that are collinear, contain very little information. Points that are at cusps or curves those are the ones he wants to keep.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, if you've got 2 points and there's one in between them, I mean, if it's right on the line, it doesn't look any different than if it wasn't there. So, yeah.
Which is the problem with taking every fifth or every 100th. There's a long string of them. You're not getting any information by keeping them instead of throwing them out. So,
Yeah, you don't have a criteria. Yeah.
Jim raised the question, so I'm saying, well, I think I knew the answer, but I didn't have any empirical data, and I'm starting to get a feel for that. Andrew, I think it was you saying if he's a real good friend or whatever else. In that one clip I showed of his ride from Zion, Illinois down to Hyde Park along the lake, there was one part that I noticed, I didn't see it originally, where he's driving down Lakeshore Drive or whatever, Sheridan Road, and then he comes back, and then he goes back out again. And it's quite a big distance, like 5 or 6 blocks there, back, and back out. And I asked him about it. I said, I noticed this anomaly in the data. What the heck were you doing? He said, I realized I dropped my water bottle and I had to go back to get it. He found it, and then he continued on his ride. So there's data in there somewhere.
But I would have guessed. Now you can ask him about the other one. And
No secrets from you.
Yeah.
I just don't know what he was wearing that day, that's all.
Very neat. Very neat. Thank you. Very cool. All right. Anybody else had something to share, or?
What was Mace? What was your background before the bar thing? What was it?
Computer engineering, software.
No,
No, your
virtual.
video background, your virtual
Oh, my
background.
Oh, there's a program out called MMHMM. It's for presenting video. I think I'm past the 7-day free trial. So you still get 50 minutes per day of all the features. And at the end of 50 minutes, it cuts out the advanced features. So I just got a generic background behind me now. So
How did you move? How does your body move around to different locations on the screen when you were doing that?
with I'm in the panel now, and I can resize myself and just drag myself around the screen. I can't see what you're seeing. I assume that what I'm looking in the control panel for is what you're seeing. So I can just
So that's another YouTube kind of way they put themselves in the corner.
I can pop up slides this way. I can bring those files, slides full screen. The advanced features are off, but I could fade myself out. I could make it look like I'm a hologram from Star Wars. Features like that to make the presentation easier. You can move the slide around, move me around, shrink me.
It's funny when you move yourself around.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Andrew, are you familiar with that? Or you're just laughing at the name and how many times he had to
No. Well, I too have it installed. I have not used. Well, I've tried it out once, but it was my computer was not configured for it at the time when I was a part of the beta test, and so it was like super disappointing that I couldn't actually like use it. And then like as soon as my computer got configured for it, they moved it out of beta and then started like kind of charging for it or whatever. So I stopped even testing it basically, and that's why I was kind of laughing, because I think it's a great app because it kind of gives you that like news anchor sort of like view or whatever. And I thought like, oh, that'd be really useful for when I teach classes and things like that. But I never took it to the fullest that I could or whatever. So I don't know. I still kind of want to get a green screen behind me, so I actually have a
Mace really controlled that really well. I mean, either he's really good at it or it's really easy. I think both.
Or both, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really good at doing really easy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you made it look like it was effortless, you know.
Oh, I cheated. I had to move my head to see which way it was I was going to have to look before I pointed to it.
Well done.
And here's my guy right here, Einstein. Somewhere.
Einstein.
Madame Curie. Those are all the great physicists. I don't know why Andrew's not in
there. The next one.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. I apparently I can't remember my password, so I'll have to like reset that or whatever. So
how much does it cost?
$99 a year or $10 a month, or 50 minutes free per day.
I didn't know about the 50 minutes free per day. So that's good to know.
Again, it still might be in that kind of beta kind of period where they're giving you 50 minutes free per day.
Yeah. They have an education pricing that I qualify for, but I don't know. I just was. It's not that I do believe in paying for software and stuff that I use or whatever. It's just like I kind of draw the line at like stuff that I don't have time to figure out. 'Cause I don't know.
I was hoping to use this for the presentation I did on RDP. I just couldn't get it all together in time. I was planning to have a document camera that showed the acetates that I was writing on and stuff, and easily switch back and forth between me and stuff, but I just couldn't get it done in time. So this is really the first time I've even seen it on Zoom. So
I really liked your transparencies that you were using.
I loved it.
That was,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I have to give credit to, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He's a mathematics professor at Ohio State University. He's got a number of videos out. He does some stuff like that with the overlays, but he cuts out pieces of paper and he'll drag a piece of paper onto the screen. And then if you want to solve for a particular variable, that variable actually has a flap on it that you open it up and the solution to the equation is underneath it. Excellent presentation of some really nice concepts. So I'll put it in Slack if I can find his name. I'm sure I can. I just don't know it off the top of my head. It's on the tip of my tongue.
cool. Very, very, very cool. And I don't know if I'll be able to ever get into this. And I think it is funny to say. So there is that. Yeah. All right. Let's see if I'm. You can see the last joke I played with the. That's what I was doing. So. This was on a Zoom call that I didn't want to actually turn my mic on, and so I was, just asking. That's all I care about. And then, here's what I said.
I don't know who Bob is, but he sounds like a great guy.
He is a great guy. Everyone should know that. Actually, I think I had those 3 slides on a loop so that they were just like going or whatever, because there were 100 people in the meeting, and so I was just like, I'll just sit here and whatever. But yeah, so it's been.
Speaking of 100, I like 6. 6 shows up good in the gallery view. Nobody's off screen, and everybody gets a chance to share and talk.
I want 100. I want a mob.
Then you're broadcast. Then you're broadcasting and you're not interacting. You want 100 paying members, and that's fine.
We could have a sing along. So was there? I'm sorry I missed the organizational topic meeting. Was that last week or the week before? Was there any summary, or is there unfinished business on there, or?
There is unfinished. We need to revisit it, like Gail said. Because originally one of the ideas was to show off like notebooks, and like we had talked about talking about Rocketbook and some other type of I think handwritten things or whatever. And I showed a few things, like May showed his composition book, and I had a couple of composition books that I have. But I think that we need to revisit that whole just the organization stuff in general, and it could be broader than taking notes or keeping project notes, because I think we also didn't really touch on strategies for organizing like project files or things like that. Like part of the whole way the idea came up was when you, Scott, had just offhanded mentioned like, oh, this is my STL folder from 2020 or whatever. So these are all the 3D prints that I did in 2020 and so on and so forth, and sort of implying that you have a strategy for organizing your STL files. So there's a lot of more room to revisit those topics.
And I know, did Tom have an opportunity to present his Get Stuff Done?
He was the GTD, getting things done. He did do a little bit of that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was just to say, you mentioned a tool whose name I'm drawing a blank on at the moment. It was like everything, or no, it was the indexing tool for Windows.
Everything.
We're all over that.
Okay, I showed that to my wife, and she was really impressed. She had a problem where she had downloaded a file and couldn't find it, and I said, well, you should just install this everything tool, and she installed it, and it didn't take any time at all. It was like in 2 seconds, it found, from the time she downloaded it, it found it. So that was cool.
Yeah, I've got it on the hotkey Control-Alt-F, and it's on the Workshop 88 computers that way as well. And if I just do star.scad, here's all my OpenSCAD files. And this isn't even my home computer. This is my work computer. So yeah, for anyone listening, this is everything by Void Tools.
Is there a Linux equivalent to that?
Find.
Well, yeah.
With the user interface of that Linus Torvald is famous for.
It's called Linux. I mean, Locate. Locate is the Locate is the tool, which works. It's and it is blindingly fast, but it depends on a cron job to do the indexing each night. So,
okay.
But once it's indexed, Locate will do that job on Linux.
Well, here I don't want to show.
Everything does it live, so you add
right.
a file
Yeah.
someplace in.
Yeah. That's and maybe someone will do that for Linux eventually, but I have not seen an equivalent of that.
I don't think I'm sharing too much here, but if I've sorted by memory, and I've got a lot going on in Firefox, and some of my work tabs they're heavy, but and Zoom. But you'll see that it is a memory hog. So if you're on a memory constrained system, that is one sort of caveat or footnote. And when you first boot the system, I think it re-indexes or re-updates or checks the database, and that seems to take a little time at boot, but it's definitely worth it. And on the organizational front, I just want to point out this habit that I have while I'm still screen sharing is I use this sort of markdown notation for all of my notes. This was just one. I haven't even named the file. I always put the date code in, 4 digits year, 2 digits month and day, and even in file names. And that forces them to sort chronologically, even if you lose the creation or modification dates, which happens to me all the time, moving stuff between Linux and Samba's not perfect. You have to like sudo everything. If you forget, you lose the dates. And then I use this bracket notation, and man, it just, after a while, it just rolls off your fingers. You could see what's done. You could see this minus means I did not do it and I won't do it. And then I have some other informational and question queries and stuff. And I put it in my to-dos for source code, and I have these lists, and I just thought I would share this. And I'm very hierarchical in my organization. It's not perfect, but I get a lot of mileage out of this habit. And organizational tools come and go. I've been burned by them. I like Notepad++, period, text file. I can always find it.
That is one thing that we touched on. I think Gail Joe was talking about that, how you can get too dependent on a tool and then get orphaned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was
another +1 for Notepad++. That's my
That's what
main thing.
prevented me from committing. That's what prevented me from committing to any. Oh, here's the latest software idea, kind of thing.
My mobile tool is just notes. So there's my reminders for Workshop 88.
So back to everything. When you mentioned you put it on a hotkey, is that something built into everything, or is there
Yeah.
another tool that's needed for that?
No, but you have to pick a hotkey that none of your applications use. So, which is why mine is Control Alt F, and I found that doesn't interfere with full screen, or which is typically on Shift Control Alt F or Host key F.
Okay. Yeah, I may have to play with that some more.
It's in there. If you ping me on Slack, I can find it and guide you where to go in the interface. But
The big driver for me, sorry, go ahead.
no, that was it.
Big driver for me for everything was Windows search and hiding. Windows is awful. The way that they hide things because they don't want grandma to touch a system file, and they put things in libraries and you don't know where the hell anything is. It's awful. It's just awful. And everything just poof, you can find anything. It's easy. No stupid stinking rules.
And if you dig into the syntax, you could search for text strings that are in the path versus the file name or the extension, or just for file types. And you don't even have to say JPEG. You could just say pictures or pics or something, or video. It's really a well done tool. I can't believe what you can get for free.
We're living in the correct moment of our time.
There, yeah.
I don't know. After last year, that's debatable, but I get your point.
Somebody's got to deal with it, and it might as well be a bunch of people that know how to use Zoom.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, every 100 years a pandemic.
Yeah. Well, we've probably touched on that topic before too, but I've talked to a lot of people who've said, what if this had happened even 5 years ago, before the technology had evolved to the point it has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would have evolved very quickly.
But certainly 10 or 15 years ago, it's really been a lifesaver.
Go ahead.
Even though you want 100 people, I still can't imagine these meetings being interesting. The pandemic's over.
Oh, we wouldn't let 100 people talk.
Yeah, we would need some rules of order, but still be, a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
I looked the other day. I'm not going to rat out my mother-in-law's age, but I wanted to see when she would be eligible for vaccination. And there's 1A and 1B and 1C. And I'm like, well, when are we going to get the shot? And then I looked up, we're in category 2, everyone else. It is literally, that's what category 2 is. So
yeah.
Why have 1A, B, and C if 2 is everyone else?
So don't hold your breath.
Yeah. Or hold your breath,
Well, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Hold your breath for 6 months.
That is the thing. So, all right. Well, let's then organize our list of organization topics for a future meeting and get that fleshed out, because I think that we're all kind of into that, and I think other people are too, and I think that'd be a really, really good topic. So does that seem like a good place to stop tonight?
I think
awesome. So let's just remind everyone to subscribe, find us on Facebook and all the socials. LinkedIn. No, we're not on LinkedIn. Twitter. There you go. Twitter and Meetup and workshop88.com. Support us on Patreon and hit us up if you're in the Chicago area and want to get a tour of Workshop 88 and learn how to become a member. We'd love to meet you. So thank you, everyone.
Bye.